Hello and welcome to Changemakers Show, where we speak with inspiring and influential changemakers and the people who support them, up close and personal. So get cozy and get ready to listen to our changemakers' stories and advice. Ask your burning questions and get inspired by their impact so you can be and bring the change you wish to see in the world too. Now let's get started with today's show.
Hello, and thank you so much, Tom, for joining us for this interview today. We're so excited to have you in the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So actually, as I just mentioned, you're the co-founder of Start Some Good. And just in case some of our viewers are not familiar with what you do, can you please share a little bit about the story of Start Some Good? And actually, I'm interested to know what was the vision you had for Start Some Good when you initially started, and what's your mission today? Because maybe it has evolved as the ecosystem has evolved a lot. So I'm really curious to hear your story.
For sure, our mission is still the same, but you're right. The way we pursue that mission has changed a lot, or diversified at least. We still do what we always did, but we do a range of new things as well. So we started off in life as just a humble crowdfunding site. But the reason we thought now, and this is 2011 when we launched, there's lots of crowdfunding sites now. There weren't very many focused on social impact. Back then, our specific mission is to increase the pace of innovation within the social sector by connecting innovative grassroots social impact ideas with the resources to see them realized. And so originally we focused entirely on the how do we support the entrepreneurs side of that equation. We were frustrated. I founded Start Some Good when I was living in San Francisco. And I did a lot of thinking while I was there as to why is there so much innovation here, and why is San Francisco a place that so many companies are founded in and do emerge from. And it's interesting, I've since moved back to Australia. And I think people from other parts of the world can have some kind of really mythical thinking about Silicon Valley from the outside. I think it's just kind of a place where really smart people get together and have really interesting ideas. And I'm fond of telling people that the reason so many interesting or successful or disruptive ideas come out of Silicon Valley is because it's the world's largest concentration of bad ideas as well. That you kind of don't get one without the other. That's what innovation looks like. It looks like trying a whole lot of stuff, and the majority of that stuff mostly doesn't work. But through that process of trial and error, this is how science works. This is how we create breakthroughs. This is how we go beyond what we currently know. But that's not how we really approach innovation in the social sector. For the most part, the social sector traditionally only funds things that are already proven to work. And I remember this kind of clarified, I had some kind of initial clarification around this pre-Start Some Good when I was living in Washington, D.C., working for Ashoka. And I was there when Obama was elected. So that was an exciting time. And one of the early things that Obama announced was that he was founding the President's Council on Social Innovation. And so those, at the time, 2009, I guess, early 2009, that small kind of little niche of people who were thinking about capital S, capital I, social innovation, we were really excited. There was $50 million on offer. And we thought, think of all the amazing things we'll get to try, experiment, all the learnings that will get created. And then the criteria was released. And the criteria was for quote unquote, proven models of innovation. And I realized that's kind of the mistake that we always make. We always want kind of, to have our cake and eat it too. We want innovation, but we don't want it to be risky. We want it to be proven. And proven innovation is a contradiction in terms. It may still be innovative. It may require investment to scale and make a greater impact. And indeed, that may be exactly the right role that government should play. Maybe government shouldn't be the funder of innovation. Maybe it should be the scaler of proven innovation. But it only works if someone is willing to fund the unproven innovation, the real innovation, in order to turn it into proven innovation, so that people like governments with their $50 million funds and what have you are willing to invest. And so in some ways, I realized that compared to, say, the Bay Area, the social kind of investment, by which I mean broadly grants, government funding, is like venture capitalists, but with no angel investors. You know, everyone wants that kind of later stage, more proven. And we thought, well, so how are people getting funding for innovative work today? And we kind of, my co-founder Alex and I looked around and we realized Kickstarter is one of the really exciting ways that on the creative side, creative entrepreneurs are launching new products, really niche and interesting types of poetry or music or art have been funded and released. And we thought that's what social entrepreneurs need as well. They need that same really modern set of tools integrated into social media. And then importantly, we knew that they would need coaching on how to use those tools. And that's always been something that has kind of made us a little bit unique, I guess, in two ways that we approach crowdfunding. First of all, we actually know that we don't expect that people just wake up one morning and intuitively know how to raise money. Raising money is a vocation. People spend their entire careers getting good at it. But the way that a lot of crowdfunding platforms kind of assume, the way they kind of do it is that it's a little bit like showing people into a room that's filled with wood and hammer and nails and saws and maybe even instruction manuals and expecting them to make a beautiful table that you'd want to be in your living room. They're not going to be able to do that on the first time. They're going to need help. I wouldn't just be able to learn how to make a table from a manual. And this is something that we all spend, like I'm standing in front of a table right now, you're probably sitting at one, like we use tables every day, we're experts on tables. And in many ways, people think that they know how to crowdfund just because they've seen some crowdfunding campaigns, but it's no different than you've sat at a bunch of tables, but you probably can't make one. And so we wanted to really kind of share what we had learned from, I'd spent the previous 15 years founding free not-for-profits and working at being the first social media director at Ashoka, raising money online and learning how to use emerging social tools. And we wanted to share that with people, not just hand them this set of fundraising tools and say, there you go, you're empowered now. Best of luck to you. And then the second thing that was unique about us right from the start is that we employed the entrepreneurial approach to fundraising, which is to say the all or nothing method that Kickstarter made famous, but which almost no other social platform uses. If you divide the crowdfunding world by, the vertical columns of what's it for, with social on the one side, on the one column, and kind of creative and general business and what have you on the other, and maybe in social and personal cause, kind of personal, like personal issues and charity, community charity and so on. And then across through the two main fundraising methods, keep what you raise, where your goal is purely aspirational, you don't have to reach it, there's no commitment around reaching it, or or all or nothing, which is where you're completely committed to that goal. And if you don't reach the goal, the funds are conditional, the pledges are conditional, and you reach that goal. You only receive your funds if you have in fact the budget to do the thing you said. So we think of that as the entrepreneurial approach because it involves that commitment and that certainty around outcomes. We're the only one that sits, or there's very few, there's none really that we know that are major and global that sit in that quadrant of the entrepreneurial approach applied to the social issues. And in some ways, it's kind of obvious now that we specialize so much in social enterprise. We're not exclusive to social enterprise. We work with charity as well, but social enterprise are a huge part of our work, and kind of course they are. We were always inclusive of social enterprises, but didn't realize what a big, I guess, how much we would end up focusing on and working with social enterprises. But of course we do, because the kind of social enterprises are those two things as well. They're using the entrepreneurial approach to creating social impact. So anyway, that's how we started, to your question. And we had a visual metaphor for what we were doing, which is we're trying to be kind of a pair of pliers and I guess instructions on how to use them so entrepreneurs can cut a hole in the fence and go around those traditional gatekeepers, the foundations, the corporates, the governments that hold all the money and can kind of get to the other side and do what they got to do anyway. What's funny in terms of what's happened to us since is that the majority of our work now is with those gatekeepers, is doing partnership work and providing services and assistance to people on the other side of the equation. So not just the entrepreneurs and community groups looking to raise money, but people with funding, with capital, businesses, foundations, governments, looking to invest in innovation, but often not knowing how. And so we help those organizations be better at finding, supporting, and scaling kind of grassroots and innovative approaches to social impact.
Wonderful. Wow. So yeah, like you've diversified in your stakeholders as well, right?
Very much so. And it kind of, in a way, the way we approach crowdfunding didn't work with the crowdfunding business model, to be honest. We were, we didn't really have any experience in business, classic social enterprise founders in many ways, coming from the not-for-profit side of the equation, all about the impact. And so we, that commitment to coaching was because we were really impact focused. We thought, well, people just aren't going to succeed. Like, the evidence is that people are not going to succeed, and we don't want to run a platform where the vast majority of everything fails. That just doesn't feel satisfying. You can actually build a good business that way. Indiegogo is very profitable, even with only 13% of projects reaching their goal, because they're at massive scale and they've optimized their systems so the incremental cost per project is close to nothing. So any kind of success rate is possible. You can certainly build a successful business that way. But the key to it is, of course, and for any crowdfunding business really, is volume and reducing those incremental costs per project. And we kind of didn't and couldn't and wouldn't. We have, from a crowdfunding point of view, a fairly significant cost per project, because we kind of interact with everyone. Every single project on our site gets paired with a member of our support team, or a crowdfunding guru, as we call them. And they'll answer their questions, they'll provide them with support. But that's a killer from a business model point of view, to be honest, because we have the highest success rate in cause crowdfunding, not coincidentally, because we put the most effort in. But that still means that's 53%. So that's, let's call it half. Half the projects that launch succeed. Of the ones that begin the process, often because we're realistic and we tell people what's involved, it has kind of the funny effect of making them realize they're not ready to launch at all. So we kind of of those that begin the process with us, less than half of those will actually launch, and of those that launch, only half succeed, which means that we're providing kind of the same amount of effort, and for us the same cost across all those projects, because we don't know, we can't assume who's going to launch and who's going to succeed, and only a quarter of them are then expected to produce all that. And it just didn't work, to be honest. We struggled on with that for quite some time. And what eventually began to make sense was when we stumbled into this partnership model, which we didn't kind of think, we weren't clever enough to think of. Someone called us and said, we've got kind of an interesting idea for a cause marketing thing from an ad agency working with a bank. And, we're thinking of building our own crowdfunding platform, but then we thought we could partner with an existing one. And we're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Let's get together and think about how to do that. And from a partnership point of view, our approach makes perfect sense. That if what you want to do is you want to, let's say as a cause marketing initiative, you want it to deliver, you want it to communicate your brand in a powerful way by showing people the kind of projects that you're supporting and you're standing, alongside and you're helping launch in the world. You need them to succeed. If you're like partnering with 8 projects and 6 of them are failing, it's not great cause marketing. It's not like, in terms of like the what's being communicated is failure and an inability to help people succeed. If you're a not-for-profit, a foundation, say, we partner with quite a few foundations who love the fact that we double their money through this matched fundraising mechanism, and you're attracted to having your money go further, and you're also probably attracted to the capacity building that creates for the organizations you support, that they become a little less dependent on grants because they're building a skill set around public fundraising as well. It doesn't work if they don't succeed. If 70% of them are failing, which is kind of the background rate in crowdfunding, then you're just kind of running people through this process that is chewing up a lot of their time and energy for no positive social return at the end. And so suddenly it all made sense. But the people who kind of understand the value of our product and are really invest, because the real product we realize in some ways is the support, is the IP on how to succeed. I mean, we're proud of our website. We built it ourselves. It works beautifully. But it works in the same way that all the other good crowdfunding platforms work. There's nothing about it that's kind of like wildly different. Where we create our difference is, there's the model, as I said, is a little bit, but not different from, we borrowed that from Kickstarter and made, tweaked it ourselves with our tipping point. But in general, it's our approach to coaching and so on, and in some ways is the real product. And that's that's what our partners are kind of investing in. Along with our ability just to know where to find innovation, how to communicate with innovators, we're just kind of tied in, have the right types of relationships with co-working spaces, accelerators, impact investors, university student societies, to help unearth or attract interesting innovative ideas that often foundations kind of, there's just a gap often in kind of who they know to communicate to and who knows to kind of go and check them out. And these groups just miss each other a lot, we think. And so we're trying to kind of be the connector in a variety of ways between these two groups, translating their needs for each other.
Wow, so I love the fact that your struggle or challenges with the initial business model in a way was a blessing, because it like helped you see a bit further and actually now have an impact that goes much beyond what it could have if the initial business model worked. And I'm saying that
Totally.
because I know a number of people who are part of our community, have this feeling like I have to, start something that works from the beginning, and if it's not that, then it's nothing, and they put a lot of pressure on the model they choose when they start, when in fact ecosystem evolves, so you have to evolve anyway. Plus, sometimes you find the answer as you go, and that's a beautiful example of that. Wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's one of it's that classic. People talk a lot about pivoting today. In some ways, pivoting's kind of become kind of trendy, but I think people misunderstand how pivoting works. Like a lot of people radically change what they're about, and actually, a pivot is when one of your feet stands still and your body pivots around that point. And so I think from a business point of view, a useful pivot is when you have one thing that's working really well. The whole business isn't working yet, but you have kind of something that can stay grounded, something that you pride yourself on, something that you do see working, and you have to kind of re-engineer some of the pieces around that. And so for us, that was kind of our support and, the fact that we knew how to work with innovative projects and teach them how to succeed as well based on our own experiences as founders and so on. And so we kind of pivoted based on that, but we didn't just kind of we didn't kind of abandon crowdfunding altogether and end up as a photo rating site, or I don't know. You see kind of these radical jumps, and you're right. I think often people make them far too soon, and I really honestly believe that resilience is one of the key entrepreneurial skills in any pursuit, and that so many people do have this fantasy around they expect it all to blow up and they'll have 6 staff and have their own offices within 12 months or whatever the case might be, and it's that does happen for some people, but you have to be ready for the fact that it might not. And I think there's a lot of good ideas where they quit at the end of 12 months, but maybe 12 months later could have been really rocking. They just needed a little bit more time to mature or to germinate or to make those tweaks, to make those kind of course corrections around their whatever it was that they have that is valuable and unique. You don't necessarily. Business is a puzzle. There's custom. That's why I like the business model canvas, which I'm sure you've seen, assume, but in some ways it makes the puzzle pieces, like basically just that business is always a puzzle. You're trying to have the right product and different customers and different ways of delivering and different ways of doing pricing. You're trying to figure all those pieces out so that they click together, and it's absolutely not surprising at all that you don't just put them together perfectly the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I can 100% relate to that. I actually also would love for you to share a bit more about some of the current projects and excitements that are going on for you guys, because I know our community has been following the summits that you have been organized every year since I don't remember when, but it's been a couple of times.
Actually, this is the second one, but yeah.
Second one, okay. I remember 2 of them, but I was like,
No, there was something similar that we did. A kind of one-off thing a couple of years earlier that served as inspiration. But so you're onto something there.
Yeah.
So
that's been really exciting. More about things that are going on for you now, and what's new at Startup.
I guess what's new is that we're trying to a couple of things. I guess we're trying to more overtly communicate. We're kind of midway through figuring out our new identity in a little way, kind of to a certain extent, and how to talk about it, because forever we've just been, Tom. I get introduced and be like, this is Tom, he's from Start Some Good. They're a crowdfunding platform for social good projects. And that's true, but no longer kind of completely true. And so we put the first page up describing our partnership work only on our website last October or maybe November, made the first kind of brochure. We're really trying to focus down more. I'm going to an all-day sales workshop on Friday, trying to learn more about this, sales, not marketing. I'm a social media person originally, and kind of think more about public comms and so on, but of course that's not how you develop these partnerships. So really, kind of trying to double down on that, and it's been going, things have really been happening since that point. We've kind of just had 5 simultaneous. We more or less right now have 5 live innovation challenges going on. So an innovation challenges is when we work with a partner to define an area, what we want a response to, and there's some really interesting briefs that we're getting to work with. So we've got one with ING. That's for early stage product-based social enterprises. That just closed last week. What also closed last week was one with an insurance company for projects that inspire trust and connectedness, which is a really interesting brief. Got one with a superannuation company, investment company in Australia, an ethical one around projects that inspire action around climate change. But we're also beginning to work on some really interesting ones that solve specific business dilemmas. So we're hoping to launch one in the coming months that is about a new kind of channel to market. I forget how much I can say because it's kind of not closed, but one's about a new channel to market for sustainable products. And so we'll be looking for enterprises that feel a particular part of the supply chain in order to create more market for the sustainable products up here. We need this missing piece to get the consumers. So kind of challenges that unravel specific business model problems. And another challenge that we hope to launch around a waste issue with a company that wants to find social enterprises that can take some of their waste products and turn them into valuable, products that people will pay for in a variety of ways. So some really interesting briefs that are emerging. We're hoping to do more and more of those, and we just love that kind of work because it allows us to, culturally, we want to work more closely with the individual innovators and projects. And through these challenges, we get to run kind of 4 to 6 week accelerator programs almost, where we have quite a bit more contact, way beyond even what we do as standard, which is beyond what other crowdfunding platforms do. But this allows us to do kind of a whole other step up again. And we really enjoy that because that for us is the really fun stuff, is to kind of put idea. We've always been based on the belief that there's an abundance of ideas out there. But in some ways, in the challenge to, in the innovation challenge, the gap is between ideas and action, not between kind of that we need to ideate. In some ways, that's why I'm always less inspired by things like hackathons and so on. I don't think ideation is actually the kind of blockage in the system. I think we're like abundant in ideas. There's people everywhere I go. There's passionate people with like great insights into the needs of their communities or the specific issues they care about, but who don't know how to take the next step, who don't know how to kind of get that idea out into the world, or who have taken that step and have something that's going really well or shows promise within their local community, or they're really local and don't know how to kind of take it the next step beyond that. They're selling a product to the market. So how do you go from like just being stuck at your local market to now maybe retail or corporate or online or whatever the next step to get that product out there more and things like that. So it's, really fun for us. And we hope to do more of those. And in particular, hope to kind of do some more global challenges. So if anyone's listening and wants to partner, we can help you find awesome ideas. But the other thing I want to do a shout out coming out of the summit, which you mentioned. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, that was kind of a 3-week free, but then closed off now. I've missed it, I'm afraid. But 30 founders of social change organizations ranging from Nobel Peace Prize winners to people, who are kind of kicking goals, but in an earlier stage, all sharing kind of what they've learned along the way with people who are at an earlier stage, which is me and all of us. When one of the people is Muhammad Yunus, we're all at an earlier stage than him, more or less. So I learned a huge amount. And the next step, of course, for us is now we want to, once again, we know that people have learned a lot, been inspired a lot, and now we want to help them get their ideas out there and actually start good. So we've just launched a program that we're calling the Starting Good Launchpad, which is to hopefully inspire people who are participating in the Starting Good Summit. But even if you weren't, this is still open to you. And it's kind of a supportive process. It's basically based around the process we run people through when we're doing an innovation challenge. But it's open to anyone. It's not based around a restricted brief based on a partner. But we're going to just take about a dozen projects and then run them through kind of a 6-week process to get crowdfunding ready and share with you everything that we know. So we're charging a bit for that because we really want that level of commitment. So it's $97 to participate in the program. But the cool thing is when you launch, we'll give you $50 back. We'll be your first donor. One of the things we really preach about is the importance of day one supporters to build that momentum. So we will be, for the people coming to this platform, we will be one of their day one supporters, and they'll get more than half their investment right back that way. But that's to hopefully get everyone really committed to coming through the process with us. So if anyone wants to check that out, the URL is bit.ly/SG-launchpad.
Great.
So
I'll put it under the video so that it's easier for people to
cool.
get to. Yeah. There you go.
That's awesome. So that kicks off May 1.
Going to a sales training on Friday, but this was wonderful. I want to say that.
Yeah, do my best. I'm learning.
No, that's great, and I really support the idea of getting people to commit with an initial investment, even if it in your case like they get part of that money back when they launch your campaign and stuff. It's just that we see that as well in our own businesses when the investment is higher, then the commitment is higher as well, and then the results are better. So it's like everybody wins. Like your energy you put into building them is just better used. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better
Wonderful.
vibes often. Yeah, the right people with more focus and more commitment. We used to do all our workshops for free, just as a marketing
Mhm.
thing, just wanted to show off what we knew and inspire people to give it a go and to hopefully do it with us. Um, and it, yeah, it made such a big difference when we started charging. It was mostly actually just the capacity issue. We were so sick of, the room would hold 20 people, so we'd cut off registration after 20, and then 8 people would turn up. We're like, this is crazy. There were other people who would be here, but
Mhm.
those people were just reserving a spot without the level of commitment to actually kind of
Mhm.
follow through. But who can tell? And so when we started charging you still don't get 100%, but like, you get 80 to
Mhm.
90% of people actually showing up. And then the people who do show, they come with pad and paper. I meant to say pen and paper, you know what I mean? Pad and pen, whatever, with their notepad and
Yeah.
tablet, but they're actually taking notes. They're actually focused on
Yeah,
listening, and they're there
great.
because they
And
know
I
that
think
it's
that's a great
important.
takeaway as well for
Yeah.
the social entrepreneurs who are watching this interview, because at the end of the day, I know so many people are shy about charging money and they feel like I'm going to have a better impact if I'm cheap or free. But in most cases, actually, asking for financial commitments and of course adapting that financial commitment to the type of crowd you want to support
Yeah.
is super important. We are learning our way navigating that
I think
question
I
as
think a
well.
great balance for any of these sorts of things is to charge, but then have scholarship places.
Mhm.
But then people have to write you a little application to get those scholarship places, and that's another form of commitment. When you feel like you've gained something that is kind of precious, and you've been selected for that, and you've had to kind of share, you've actually had to pitch for it a little bit. That can
Yeah.
also, I think, create the same sort of
Mhm. Mhm.
commitment,
Yeah.
but in a way that doesn't create any financial pressures.
Mhm. Mhm.
And often the best way to do that is actually charge everyone else a little bit more, and then they can, everyone who's buying a ticket is essentially subsidizing by $10. For every 5 tickets you sell, you're able to do a scholarship ticket or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to balance that. Another way, actually, we
Definitely.
were talking about this for the next Starting Good. We're thinking about doing one of the ways in which Starting Good pays for itself. The summit is with lifetime access. As anyone who's been doing it would have realized that we give everyone 3 weeks, which we think. And this is another way of kind of balancing that. I think 3 weeks is like a fair period of time for every. If you don't want to pay to access it afterwards, get in there, watch all the videos, learn everything you can. But then we're going to cut you off because we want to create a sense of urgency around it as well. And if you want to kind of remove the sense of urgency, you can pay to upgrade so that then you can chill out and access it anytime you want for the rest of your life, we hope, unless the whole internet falls over and the heat death of the universe.
Mhm.
But again, that's a way of kind of creating, I think, maybe mechanisms of commitment that doesn't create a
Mhm.
financial pressure. We were just talking today though about whether we should try next year a pay what you can method.
Mhm.
Maybe with a
Yeah.
minimum, like instead of charging this year, we charged I think $60. Maybe next year it's minimum $10, but pay what you can. And I wonder if
Yeah.
some people would say this is so valuable and I can afford it, so I'm going to give you $100. Meanwhile, other people would just pay $10, and maybe it'd be a way of kind of sorting out that. Particularly for something that's global, people do have such different capacity. We had people from rural Nepal and Kenya and so on joining the summit, and they can't, like, I know they can't pay 60 Australian dollars or US
Mhm.
dollars, actually, I think it was, to join in, but it's a shame, they had the 3 weeks. But yeah, I think there's some interesting mechanisms to play with: scholarships, pay what you can, limited time, and then upgrades and things like that,
Mhm.
rather than
Definitely.
just feeling like everything has to be blanket
Yeah.
free all the time. Because
Mhm.
as
And
I'm fond of saying, like,
especially
if we go out of business, we're helping no one, and if you burn out, you,
uh-huh.
the person out there who's worried that you're like
Mhm.
doing a service to the world by not charging, if you burn out and you know and no longer can put on any events or can provide any support or services, that doesn't help anyone either.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also on the user point of view, with the internet which will hopefully not collapse.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
But yeah, like there's an overwhelm of information and resources. So actually helping make the decision to commit, whether it's like through a financial investment or like an application or whatever, like it also helps navigate all these resources that we have access to,
Yeah.
and actually focus on like getting that information. I have one last question for you, as
Hmm.
we're getting to the end of our interview. And I would love to know, if we were to interview you again in 5 years, what would you want to be able to say about the impact that you would have created then?
We hope within the next 5 years, and actually I guess within the next 4, because we said this a year ago. And look, I'll be honest with you, we're not totally on track yet. We're not 20% of the way towards this 5-year goal, but we're hoping, it's an acceleration over time, more logarithmic. But we want to launch 10,000 projects that change 100 million lives over the next 5 years.
Great. I love that it's like super, super bold. Yeah. And it fits with your overall philosophy of like, there's enough, we can always have more, but like the ideas are there, and now we're in the phase where they need to be launched, and they need to work.
And we will have, you're right about, we'll always have more ideas. I'm not saying that all that is out there are the right ideas, but I think getting more out there, running more experiments. I think we're kind of an engine for social change experiments. And we'll all learn quicker. We think that kind of the pace of change is too big to only invest in things already proven to work, because the problem with things proven to work is they were inevitably proven to work in the past. And the near future might be quite different from the near past, and so we need to kind of be constantly reinventing. I think that's just the biggest thing that's changed about the world today is the pace of change, and the social sector hasn't totally adapted to that. The commercial sector, I think, has kind of figured out a different way of doing business, and kind of these investment kind of ecosystems where people play distinctly different roles, making huge risky bets, but accepting that when it works, it's huge financial returns. And we just need more people prepared to make risky bets in return for the possibility of huge impact returns as well, rather than just, the paradox of us only investing in things that work is that nothing actually works. It doesn't feel like we're actually getting on top of many of these issues or solving some of these problems. And I think, we don't just need funding, we need breakthroughs.
Wonderful. I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much again for sharing all those insights, and best of luck for those 10,000 ideas that you're gonna help.
Working on it.
And
we need everyone else to help
years.
us with that. We're just here to help you. It's kind of like, that means we're looking for 10,000 awesome idea creators, idea holders, idea like launchers, brave, courageous change makers, willing to step forward and make a difference. We can't achieve our goal. We can't achieve anything without them, because we are, as the whole theme of these is, we're a supporter, we're a piece of infrastructure. We love playing that role, but it doesn't work if other people don't. So we're really looking forward. I hope some of your listeners today, or watchers, viewers, will come and tell us what they're working on, and we'll have the great honor and privilege of being able to help them on the journey.
Wonderful.
Did you enjoy this episode? Never miss a show by signing up for updates at www.changemakersassociation.com/show. Or if you're on Facebook right now, type the word show in the comments below to get notified directly inside Facebook Messenger before we go live with new guests. Changemakers Show is proudly brought to you by me, Danielle, and my awesome partner, Solène, and our brainchild, Changemakers Association, the place to be to get connected with the knowledge, mentoring, and community support that every changemaker needs to succeed and thrive, creating sustainable impact. We hope to stay connected with you and see you soon.